Welcome to Progressive Mindset Podcast. My name is Natalie Potts, Business Development Coach and Mentor, and each week I'll bring you an inspiring personal message to help you unlock creating and living a life of energy, action, impact, and happiness. And today I'm welcoming Hannah onto the podcast. Hannah is going to share her story about being a mindset coach with you in just a moment. But I just wanted to say a huge thank you to everybody that's joined us on this mini series for coaches. Being able to share the wealth of information and knowledge and nuggets that they know on their own coaching journeys, where not all of us are doing the same thing and we have an array of different niches. So as I always do, I'm going to hand over to my wonderful guest, Hannah, to share her story with you. Thank you so much for joining me today. Really appreciate your time. Kick off by sharing all about you, what you do, how you got into coaching, and anything else that kind of springs to your mind.
Lovely. Oh, well, thank you so much for having me on, Natalie. I really appreciate it. So I have a background in education, early years education specifically, and I am currently in leadership in education. I trained with the Coaching Academy, as you know, to be a personal performance coach. But from a really young age, I've had a keen interest in like the power of the mind. When I was a teenager, I actually had some hypnotherapy, and I was absolutely blown away because the hypnotherapy I had was actually for health-related issues, and the speed, the power of the sessions and the speed at which things changed for me, I was like, wow, if this can happen so quickly with mindset work, what else is possible? So I think from a very young age, my interest in mindset work has always kind of underpinned what I've done in my career. And I now currently work with people on their mindset in a coaching capacity, as well as in my job in education. Obviously, I've got a keen interest in how young children learn. But as I've got older and as I've gone through my career, I've become much more passionate about how we learn as adults and how we can be the very best version of ourselves once we do that work with our mindset and once we kind of remove some of those things that are keeping us stuck where we are.
It's really interesting. I didn't know you had that hypnotherapy, and that's why it's great to do some, things like this and share more about what we do. I guess what's interested me first about that is, what do you notice, as you said there, when you're younger, how you learn as well? What do you notice as a difference working with clients? Because there is that, I think we get to an age and we stop learning. I used to think at 18, I just want to stop learning and go and earn money. And the older I get, the more I love to learn. So what do you notice in how maybe people are in terms of learning as an adult versus children and how responsive they are?
Yeah, this is absolutely fascinating. So for children, I mean, I'm a huge fan of Carol Dweck's work around growth mindset, of course, as an educator. And for young children, we know that if they are scared, if they're feeling stressed, if they're not comfortable, they are not going to be in a creative space. They are not going to be able to soak up new learning. They're not going to be able to reach their potential and do their best. And that always gets me thinking about myself and as an adult, and in situations where I am at my best self. And this is where kind of coaching comes in, because as you'll know, as part of the coaching process, we get our clients into a really creative space where they can think outside the box. They can think of options around obstacles and options around challenges to move them forward. And it's getting them into a state where they can do that. So that's like the first thing, I think, the state that we're in. But secondly, I think there's a huge thing around fear of failure. I know from my experience at school, many times, I felt as if failure was not a good thing. It wasn't encouraged. What was encouraged was doing well, achieving well. You were rewarded for achieving well. And, starting my career as a teacher, I was really conscious of not putting that on children. And actually, we say over and over again as teachers, your mistakes are what helps you learn. They're what helps you grow. And if you get make an error, make a mistake, you then learn from that so much, and you build your resilience, you build your strength for next time. As adults, it's exactly the same. And I think we all feel it ourselves when we want to take the easy path. We don't want to put ourselves out there or kind of go beyond the comfort zone in case we fail, in case things go wrong. And that's ingrained into us. And it's really hard sometimes to break that and think, actually, no, failure is what makes us learn. Failure, I mean, can you even call it failure? This is what helps us become better versions of ourselves. So many mirrors between how children learn and how we learn and grow as adults.
Yeah, I think so. I was saying to someone the other day, I always take little notes now when I work with clients and when I do like these podcasts, because it's those nuggets of info. And I guess I always say this: notice what you notice, and that's something I've definitely learned through the academy and my coaching journey. But now I'm actually reading a book, Silent Guides by Steve Peters. Is it Steve Peters? And he is it is Steve Peters, the one who's done the kind of mind paradox and the chimp in your mind. But the Silent Guides is around how you help children and you can be a better parent. And I guess I look at it as being a better auntie type thing. But also I just understand, like you said, children's the mind and how it evolves so much, because often, even though with coaching we are future facing, we don't delve into the past unless it's for employing strengths in that reality section. So much is hooked up for everybody, reality, on our childhood and our experiences, because that creates our beliefs, as we know. And I know we touched on this before around limiting beliefs. And I think that when I looked at coaching, you think, oh, it's really woo-woo coaching style. But actually, I think we just don't delve into enough of what are our beliefs in life and what is limiting us, being that practical in that sense with those two words. And understanding, like you said, then the fear of failure, that we almost try, we're relearning as adults how to embrace failure. Whereas, like you say, kids, it is about wins. It is about, like I would have been devastated when I think I got 1F actually once. I failed a drama paper and I couldn't retake it because they were like, well, no, you can't retake it because everything else is going fine. And I was absolutely just so hooked up on that figure versus actually where I was doing really great, which was the practical element. I just hated the theory side of drama. So it's really interesting to look at, and I don't think we delve into it enough. And I know I've discussed previously on some podcasts and even our pre-discussion that I'm not sure where I sit with mindset in terms of, I used to do a lot of work on it, and now I'm a bit like it. I'm not saying that it's BS, but I'm saying it's always there. And I think people think that they can overcome it, but I think it's a way of embracing that it's always going to be there. And the same as your limiting beliefs are always going to be there. You just have to know how to manage. And it's the same as that monkey in your mind. You have to know how to give it a banana and manage those thoughts, because those thoughts become feelings and those feelings become actions. So I think that's a perspective I need to come for more with the mindset. And that I don't have the answers. I like the fact that I just am exploring it and talking with people like yourself and different perspectives to gauge a bit of understanding of how I understand the mindset myself.
Yeah. And it's recognizing as well, it's all very well identifying a limiting belief that we all have them, but actually it's about recognizing that when those beliefs are influencing our decisions, and recognizing that we can change those decisions. So, it could be something, you might have the belief that in your current organization, you won't be considered for a promotion because you're not what they're looking for. That's a belief. Okay, it's not particularly helpful belief if you're wanting to progress in your career, but it's the decisions that you then make, you might not even realize that you're making, because you're holding that belief. It might stop you from, applying for other jobs because of the impact that's having on your emotions and your confidence. It might actually stop you even from, enrolling in courses to develop your skills or develop your passions. Again, because you've just got this belief that's sort of sitting over you subconsciously that you're not really going to be considered. And actually, where is the evidence for that? Well, whether that belief, whether it's true or not, doesn't really matter. The fact is, many of your decisions may be being influenced by that belief. And that's when we can start to change and take action and start to create a new path for ourselves that's not just dictated by our subconscious.
Yeah, it's a really powerful question, isn't it? Well, what evidence do you have for that? And I think there's a lot in just that we are so fast paced in the world. And my saying for last year was slow down to speed up. And I say it's quite a lot, but you just really have to live that through and actually really reflect on where you're at right now, where do you want to be, do that check-in part. And I don't think we do it enough. And I think we're just always agenda of next, when I have this, when I have that, and I'll feel this and I'll feel that. When actually that's not true. And I'm not saying you have to live every day like it's your last, because I think then actually consequently you can make poor decisions based on that as well, if you were to have that outlook and perspective. However, that frame of mind, and I'm listening to, it's interesting what you noted about creative space. And again, I get very frustrated myself where years ago as a kid, you would just go and jump off the hills, but you wouldn't think about it. And as an adult, you'd be like, whoa, like going skiing. I haven't been skiing, but I can imagine I would have to get over a massive confidence issue to even just get on a slope. Whereas a kid, you just go, yeah, so I'll do it. But in this creative, listen to an audible as well, and it's about being creative in your space. And I think we lose that as adults again, because I think we have to conform to what we think we need to be with what society dictates, but also like that part of that what if scenario and when I get there, and you have to be quick. You haven't got time to do that creative space stuff. But actually, when we put ourselves deliberately in being bored, and I say I'm never bored, I probably need to do that more, to be more creative, to have better ideas, and to let that flourish and fruition.
Absolutely. It's like that push, that need to just keep going and going and going.
Yeah.
Isn't always helpful. Sometimes just taking a step back, but trusting, just absolutely trusting that you're there, you're on the right path. I think that's really, really powerful. When you're driven and you're a goal setter and you're a goal getter and you want things to move forward, and you really know what you want and where you're going, which is all great things.
Yeah.
It's really, really important to, like you said, take that step back. Just trust, keep doing the work, keep taking action, of course, but just trust that you've got it in you. Like, you have the answers. And like you said, prioritize that creative space, because that's where you're going to essentially have your best ideas. That's where you're going to be the best version of yourself, and you're going to unlock your own potential.
Yeah, no, it is really interesting, isn't it? And it's interesting how it all kind of maps out together and then builds as well. And so many people are going through the same thing. I think this is a bit about coaching. What I'm loving doing, like this coaching mini series, is that you can look at it and think that they're your competition as such. Like if you're being that, like you say, very driven and business mindset type of approach. But actually, for me, it's a collaborating, because we are all still very different. And I think the biggest part that amplifies who we are in our businesses is our personality and our characters. And essentially, as you just said, there are people, and I know myself, that I'll follow people who are coaches and think, oh, are they right for me? It's often not. They're credible, and they've obviously got somewhere and they're doing great in their business, because that's important. But the part that draws me is how they resonate in terms of character and personality. And that's the important part, and that's what makes us different. And that's why I say to people that you need to just be honest with yourself if coaching feels right for you with me, because it may be that it doesn't, and we just need to be honest and transparent about that. And I can share with you what, a little bit more around coaching if you want to know what it is, because a lot of people don't actually know, which is again fine. And the same as the difference between mentoring. But then actually, I know people that could be, like you just said, actually, it might uncover that, what are you finding here? They might say, well, actually more around my mindset, or I think it's about confidence, opposed to actually I need to focus on business at the moment. Okay, well, maybe you need to position that and just think, what's a priority to you? And as they said in the mindset, it's like, that's not really what I do, which is fine, to be honest with you, but I know someone does do it. And that's when you build great relationships and a network piece. When they say get out of a network, it isn't, I don't see it as fluid as, it's just not just getting out there. You've got to have a relationship part where it works both ways. And that goes back to then this developing relationships, which I think is absolutely key in all business. And that's, again, the shifting perspective of how you want to come at anything you do with your coach or client.
So true. And I think we know those people in our own lives who we are our best selves with, we really vibe from and work well with. And it isn't everybody, and that's fine. You're not going to be liked by everybody, you're not going to be best friends with everybody. That's the same in any area of your life. You find people in your workplace, I'm sure, where that you just gravitate towards, and if you put you two in a room together for half an hour, you're going to make magic. And I think with coaching, it's just the same. You have to find the people who really resonate with you, who really connect with you, whose values you hear and you relate to. And that's, there's so many people in this world, there's so many people who could benefit from coaching. And that's why it's so important that we are connecting, we are boosting each other up, we are having these conversations, so that people can find the coach that's right for them as well. And that's going to change at different times of your life. There's going to be times in your life when you are wanting to do very, very specific business coaching or coaching around visibility. And there's people who will do that, like who will be really, really targeted and focused. And then there are other times when you're going to want to work on different things, and therefore you'll want a different coach perhaps.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I guess, like, what have you learned through doing coaching and that maybe surprised you? If you were to say like your top 3 things that have really come about and changed your outlook on life, and as you say, just relationships and helping your confidence with that.
That's a good question. I think the biggest thing I've learned from coaching is how much we have the power to shape and create our own lives, and how quickly that change can come about. We can be stuck for so long on autopilot, doing the things we've always done and getting the results we've always got. And until you work with somebody who can really reflect some of that back to you and like shine a light back onto some of your behaviors, onto some of your habits, onto some of your decisions, things will stay the same. So I think one thing I've really learned is how quickly things can change when you've got someone shining that light. The second thing is how important it is to find the right people. For me, when I stepped into the coaching space, I was like blown away with how much I was connecting with people and how some of the relationships that I formed very, very quickly really, really fulfilling. And that's been such a big part of my life over the last few years. And I'm really grateful for that, incredibly grateful for that. And I always say, find your tribe. And I think find the people as well who embody what you want to become. Unless you can see it, it's really hard to believe it sometimes, unless you've got like a tangible example. It's hard to believe it. And if you don't really believe it for yourself, you're not going to make it happen. And so I'm all about like surrounding yourself with people who in one way or another embody, where you want to go, embody, the things that inspire you. And that's what I found as well, reaching out in the coaching space, finding people who do that for me and who I can do that for other people has been really powerful. So the power of connection and working together. And I would say the third thing that I've learned from coaching is how phenomenally different we all are. Like no two people see the world in the same way. No two people will interpret an experience in the same way or put the same meaning to a word, and we automatically think that everybody is like us. That situation's happened, well, I would behave in this way. Actually, not at all. And the reasons people are behaving in different ways is from a whole host of reasons that we know nothing about until you dive in. So I think really appreciating everybody's journey, everybody's decisions, and therefore, I found coming much more from a place of understanding than a place of judgment or criticism, because everybody's got their own model of the world. And as a coach, part of our job is to, step into that and embody that and learn as much as we possibly can, be a detective about that model of the world so that we can best help our clients. But just in life as well, to have that awareness of people are not all wired up the same, and it's not a bad thing, it's a great thing.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. The point you mentioned around your first point and doing the same thing over and over again is what Einstein says is like his form of insanity, isn't it? When you, again, like if you stop to reflect on your day and think about what people have said to you or the situations you were in, and then there's a say, actually they were doing the same thing because they think that's what works or it's what's best or it gets them the result quicker, etc. But actually it's like, well, you've got to do something different. Like, what's working for you? And I love these questions always. When I look at something, I'll always ask, what worked really well? Because you always start with a positive. What went really well for you? Give me 3 things. And then what could have gone better for you? Because when you then start with that positive, you then shape them into, well, actually, it could have been this, this, and this. And their mind opens up when they think of the moving forward part, opposed to if you started and said, what are you going to change about that? It's going really badly. Instantly, people end on a downer and are, oh, I don't know, really, actually, let me think about it. And it's that shut off defensive mode. So I always find that approach works well. And then the kind of, what are you going to focus on? What are you going to change? Continue out of that. I think as well, like you said, the people in the network part, and they say, I remember being on a call with, it was Tony Robbins' son actually, and he was sharing about relationships and that you need to have 33 people that are where you want to be. Roughly, it makes about 99%. And then people that are on your level path, about 33 as well. And then people that are where you were and want to, come through or not even know that yet, they're the kind of other 33. And you want to have a bit of that split. Because actually you need to put, as we know with networking, you need to put yourself out there, because I notice the more I'm around people that are very driven or business-minded, the more connected I am in that fashion as well. Therefore, the same as if you eat, you go to somebody that doesn't gym or wants to go and have McDonald's all the time, you're probably going to not go to the gym and you're going to start eating McDonald's. It's natural because people have that effect on others and rub off, and you can spin again that what works for you, what doesn't, and there's no judgment there. That McDonald's and no gym works for you, then fine. But it's the awareness part of, you say, of the impact of others' behaviours on you as well, and what you accept.
Yeah, and your environment. So it's like the people around you, also your environment. You know, you'll know with coaching, you kind of do a full environment and almost like people life audit.
Yeah, 360, isn't it, of your life?
Absolutely. You know, what is around you that is working and supporting you in the pursuit of your goal, and what's hindering you. And sometimes it's really minor tweaks that we can make, either to our networks in a positive way, or to our environments, to our behaviours, to our habits, that can actually have a really powerful impact. And we do that bit by bit, like changing, tweaking those behaviours, tweaking those things. Yes, we have to identify them first, but then tweaking them so that the way we're behaving, the way we're living, our environment, our network, our people are all supporting us rather than eating.
And that's, like we've touched on before, that's a confidence in itself to do that, because I know I'm very, obviously, sometimes I think I'm quite blindsided that my life's quite great for the relationships I do have, but I've made a conscious decision years ago to cut, and as blunt as that sounds, a lot of people in my life who weren't aligned to where I wanted to be. Those people that doubted me, even, you know, qualifying as a coach, that type of thing. And then people see you build and they're like, wow, you're doing really well. And so you think, oh, I'm not doing really well, I've still got X, Y, and Z to do. But they've seen your journey, and it's those people that are the ones that can empower and help you move forward as well, and you can help them. But there are some people in your life that just may be negative, and I really, as tough as it is, you do, and it took me, it wasn't quick. Sometimes it was quick and I was like, actually, enough's enough. Other times it was a bit like, they're this and they've done this, and I thought, but actually they give me a lot of worries, which takes my energy and wastes my time. And it's a one-way relationship. Actually, I'm giving and they're not giving anything. It might even be as simple as it was a friend that we'd always meet for coffee, but I was the one that always said, shall we meet? I was the one that was always booked for dinner going out. I was the one that always sent the first text to check in every week. And after a while, if it's not working both ways, it gets a bit tiring. And I think you have to be really honest with yourself that, as you said, your environment and the people around you help shape your life as well, and how successful you're going to be. The same as I've just said, you've got to put yourself into having those people that are where you want to be. Make sure they're the right people, but you really do, because they'll inspire you as well. And it's just, and this is what I love about coaching, is that I always see it parallel, that I'm helping people, but I'm on a journey just as much as myself. The same as I said, I sit here taking notes, and I'll go away from this and there'll be nuggets that have sat with me again, because I'll notice what I notice, and yourself, and we'll think, wow, that showed up there in my life, that showed up there, what's that telling me, what am I noticing, without overthinking or overthinking. But it really helped, because we have, and that's a part of the mindset that I love, and I think is, like you said, so powerful. If you choose to see it that way and notice it, you've got to have that self-awareness, that's what's happening, and then take something and build on it from there. And again, with, like you've said, going to that third point, everybody has a different meaning on words and everything, and it's understanding, checking in with that. Hence why we'll never assume as coaches. And when I mentor the academy now, a lot of the time I'm like, it's always a client's agenda. It's always just, you know, don't ever assume, you know. And sometimes I say, you've made that assumption, right? And you have to check, because yes, it's a leading question, yes, it's more mentoring, but you're getting them to check in from a self-awareness perspective, and that's important as well. And I think sometimes people get very hooked up on, I can't say this, I can't say that with coaching, because otherwise I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Well, don't worry about that. Just let that happen. Let that be your learning. But just get that client more aware and in a state where they can change. And because essentially I always think coaching is moving A to B, like you said, quicker than on your own. And that's the premise for me, is making someone really aware of where they're at, where they want to be, and again, closing that gap.
Yeah, absolutely. And then having the accountability to the action as well, because the thing is, yes, we might identify things, but then it's what our behaviours then do. So, for example, and again, this is kind of going back to the second point about the people. If we're having to make a decision in our life, you have a choice about who you go to speak to about that big decision.
Yeah.
You know the people who are going to reinforce certain paths you're going to take.
Certain beliefs as well, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And it's just becoming super aware of what you're feeding yourself. Actually, there's going to be times when it might not be the best idea to go to, I don't know, your best friend, or, you know, your parent, or your sibling, or whatever, to ask for a piece of advice, because you know what the advice is going to be, and that's actually the advice that for yourself you don't want to make. That's the decision you don't want to make. So it's being really conscious then of what you do, what your actions are that follow your beliefs, what your actions are that follow your decisions. Getting to a place where you're creative enough to think of actions that are going to move you forward, not just thinking in a really linear way, but also being really conscious of what you're feeding yourself and who you're going to for advice and support, and, you know, advice on those decisions.
Yeah, and I love that word linear. I'm obsessed with it. I find that a lot of business when you coach people in that realm, and they are very much about just linear approach to where they want to be. And I want to be this, and when I get there, I'll be happy and I'll be successful. And it's like, right, okay, well, how does it feel, and what's going to be actually different? And really getting them to put themselves in that place of, and in the goal part of, they're a CEO in that 5 years time. What is that success? What's the difference? And again, defining what does success mean to you.
Yeah.
And understanding that, and it's that slowing down, speed up again of what actually really think about that. You're saying you want that, but do you really want that? What is it you want? Or is it that you want financial freedom, or you want to have more time back? What is it that you really want? Because that position is not going to actually, when you think of the opposites, it's probably not going to bring you all the success you think it's going to bring. And it's getting people to think differently. But and I remember Sheryl Sandberg saying that you need to be more like jungle gym. And I think that's that part as well. We get to an age where we think, well, I've got this skill set, why can't I just have this now? And I look at business and tend to think, well, actually, I'd quite like to do a bit of a role like that, because I think it'll completely diversify the skill set that I have and get me focused on other areas that I'm not great at. And then I'm going to be, you know, I want to work on those, because I get bored sometimes. So I find I've got to put myself out there as well in scenarios where I'm quite comfortable with failure, actually. But again, it's taken me time to get to there, because I think I won't grow, and I really want to grow and develop and be better. And I want feedback. I kind of always ask for it. I remember I left a corporate once years ago. I actually went back to them, but I did a space of 9 months doing recruitment consultancy. And I absolutely hated it, because I was micromanaged, which I'd never been. I'd always been a manager very early on as I was like 18, 21, that age when I got my first manager position, managing people. And I was like, wow. And you have a great amount of responsibility. And then when I went to that and I was micromanaged, I was like, whoa, this isn't working for me. And I absolutely hated it, and I wanted to come back and see things, but I had to go through that experience as well and learn what I didn't like and did like. So I think that there's loads within that, isn't there? And you have to put yourself out there and know that I don't think there's ever a failure in terms of learning. I think you can look at anything and do it and think that worked well for me for this and it didn't work for that. But then that's, you know, and almost like you say, trust yourself. I see lots of people that just go course after course after course, or, you know, the next coach. Actually, that's great if it's a development journey. And I know that I started with a coach, now I'm with someone else, and I think actually it's very, very different what I'm taking and learning here. And I'm in a different place and they're in a different place from, you know, each other as coaches. But I needed to go through those steps, the same as we need to sometimes, again, slow down, speed up, and know that we might need to do a course, but then we might need to actually say, just trust ourselves and say no to some things, and actually learning as well, actually, I didn't need to do that. I do know enough about that. But that's that confidence part coming in.
Yeah, absolutely. And embracing the discomfort that comes with feedback, that comes, like, you know, good, positive or negative. Embracing the learning that comes with that. Embracing actually the learning that comes with when you get to that point where you're consciously incompetent at something. You know, you suddenly realize how much you don't know. That's pretty scary. It's pretty uncomfortable, but it's great, because as soon as you realize what you don't know, well, great, that's an opportunity to then learn it. And it's all, you know, once you get past that stage, it's brilliant. It's all downhill from there. I think, you know, there's so many things where we could avoid the discomfort. Coaching itself, like, it's not always comfortable, is it? We know that. Like, you have to go to pretty tough places, and it's challenging. It's challenging to have somebody question and ask and dig deep about your motives, your values, your reasons behind why you're doing things, and what you really, really, really want. So it's being prepared to embrace those challenges.
Yeah, it's absolutely key. Look, I know we could talk for ages, and I'd probably actually just love to have you on a different topic in time. And we were quite specific on what we said we want to talk about, because I think that's one that's good we manage ourselves, because we probably have, like you say, you build connections and you can just talk, and it's great, isn't it? I love that. Yeah. So I always kind of have those kind of quick fire questions. So again, we spoke about like how do we have a meaning to a word? So what does success mean to you? And just on from that, how do you measure it?
Yeah, for me, success is about contribution. For me, when I feel I'm most successful, and when I look to other people who I see as successful, it's the people who are contributing in a way that really aligned with their own truth. They're speaking, they're living, they're breathing their own truth, and they're contributing to the growth of other people. That for me is huge. And I think if people can do that, they lead by example. In order to be able to contribute to the growth of others, you have to be there yourself. You have to be in a place where you can be fully present with others, and calm and connected, so that you can facilitate that growth. So for me, that's success.
Yeah, I think I've got a big thing about integrity as well with that, and just that we live our lives like what we say we're going to do, we actually go and do, and we are credible as well. I think it's really important. And like you said, that because that adding value part, isn't it? Really, everything that you do.
And I think if you can really tune into what you're really meant to be here doing, what are your skills, what are your passions, and you can tune into that and lean into that and do the work, you're going to get to that place much quicker where you can contribute to others, because you're not doing the things that you think you should be doing, or what external expectations are putting on you and expecting you to do. It's coming from within. It's coming from what lights you up, what puts fire in your belly. When you do that, you then put yourself in a place where you can contribute, you can be authentic, and integrity comes with that.
Yeah, I love the fact you said passions there, because I've been doing a lot of work myself personally on the fact that, in, I guess, coming through a coaching format, it's quite formalized to a degree, and then you have to make it work for you. But I don't think we just have one passion. And I'm getting probably a little bit interested more around this question: what's your passion? What's your why? And I think it's a bit of and I ask it a lot, and I've asked it a lot, I think, but it's a bit dull. And the more I think about it, because actually we don't just have one passion, and we might just not have just the one why. So when you ask a question like that, I think you really need to, coaches now, we need to be a bit more challenging, that, like you say, you're not conforming to what you think you need to say or do, and you just have the confidence to go, actually, I do a bit of the mindset part, that I want to add a bit of, actually, I'm not sure what it means to me, and I'm going to be a bit more controversial on some things, apart from doing what society says, mindset is everything. And yes, but what does everything mean? And slow it down and say it's everything, but does that help people who are really struggling to overcome the limited beliefs and the roadblocks and everything? Because actually just throwing that out there could actually be more damaging, the same as just saying, what's your one why? What's your passion? Well, I don't know. I quite like the fact that I'm very family based, and that's a passion, and that's, all those align to my values more. That's, I think, where we need to be a bit more open with what things mean to people. And almost you could just do coaching, just saying, well, what does that mean to you? What does that mean to you? Because everybody, as you said, has a different connotation of a word. So you have to really, I think, again, the powerful word is exploring, isn't it? Be curious more. Absolutely. In the mindset.
Yeah. And just recognize what are you doing when you feel at your best? What lights you up? Yeah. And do more of that. Like it, know, and yes, I know there's going to be things that get in the way in our day-to-day lives, but where you can, do the things that you really, really enjoy, and great things come from that. And if that's spending time with your family, brilliant, like amazing. If that's exercising or reading, whatever it is for you, whatever it is, invest in it more. Value that passion that you have, and invest in it.
I'm going to throw them in together, because I know you'll answer them separately anyway, but what can people do to live a more purposeful life and in a happier life?
Yeah, I think happiness, I'm going to say, I think you know what I'm going to say, is exercise. And I know it sounds so obvious, but the way I see it is like a Jenga tower, and we have to put the building blocks in place. If the building blocks are in place and they're firm there, we can build on that tower. And if things go wrong further up the tower, if we miss a block, the whole tower is not going to topple down. Whereas if we have those fundamental blocks in place, our health and fitness for one, then we're making that tower super, super sturdy, so that when we're faced with challenges, when we're faced with obstacles, we've got that firm base to build on. For me, that block, one of those first key blocks in my Jenga tower, is exercise. It's me saying I value my health. And not only that, I think what happens to your brain when you exercise in terms of releasing the endorphins and just allowing your subconscious to kind of work through other challenges in your life whilst you're fully focusing on, developing a skill or your endurance or whatever it is. That's a really powerful process too. So in terms of happiness, prioritize your health, prioritize exercise, moving your body in whatever way you can and whatever way you enjoy, for sure. Whatever way you enjoy is important. And purposeful, I think, let's get outside of ourselves. I think there is a little bit of a danger sometimes to get consumed by the personal work, the personal growth work, which it's brilliant. But what are we doing it for? Well, we're doing it so that we can contribute. We're doing it so that we can be better human beings. And I think sometimes we need to just get out of our own heads, and think about how we can contribute to the lives of those people who matter to us, contribute to the world around us. I think that's really, really important. It's not all about you. The world doesn't revolve around you. And I think just really, really taking the time to focus on that is important to live in a purposeful life. I think often our whys can be driven by those things. What impact do we really want to have?
Yeah, I love the part of it. And I love exercise as well. But I think that the fact that when I was doing a neuroscience course the other week, and we're talking about the 6 elements that you have to have to have a healthy brain. And obviously one was about social connection and play, which was my biggest takeaway. But one was also around obviously nutrition and your health is key. And it's a bit like well-being, which I'm very passionate. That's another passion I have, is well-being. It doesn't mean that I just do coaching. I love well-being and diversity and inclusion, so I do a lot of work within that as well. But I think we have to reframe it that we can't not do it. We think, we haven't got time for that. I haven't got time to go to the gym today. I haven't got time to get that walk in. I haven't got time to do my day's worth of food and things. I'll just grab stuff. Well, actually, I think you can't not do that. And I think, again, that's a reframing of things. And that's what coaching is great on, to reframe people and just think, what if you don't do it? What if that doesn't happen for you? That what if scenario can change your whole perspective on everything. So yeah, I think it's really interesting that you do have to have those. And like we say, for I guess success for me is being happy, and happiness is an array of different things. I think just probably knowing myself almost within one as well, and having all those things, like you say, happiness is very much defined and aligned, living my life aligned to my values. If I'm not aligned to those, life just goes messy and I get agitated and everything. So I always notice that about myself. So yeah, really interesting points to make. What do you want to be known for?
Kind of touched on this, I guess, already. Being honest, being authentic, living and breathing my truth, my passions, but really the person who can ignite potential and facilitate personal growth in other people. I'm passionate about that journey myself, and I want to be able to live and breathe and embody that and do that for others.
Yeah, it's good. Facilitate such a great word, because I think that, again, we assume and we want to hear our voice more, don't we? And actually, you've got 2 ears and 1 mouth, that we need to listen much more than we talk. And I think facilitation absolutely does that. And again, we know coaching's about, you're the expert as a coachee. I'm asking you just some, and I am asking some great questions that'll make you feel differently. So it's all about you with that. I'm going to throw a little extra one in, just so don't get nervous, but I'm going to just throw it in. But going back and wrapping up beautifully today, what would you tell your younger self? Because we spoke about the limiting beliefs and, as you said, hypnotherapy. It was hypnotherapy, wasn't it, at the start? Yeah. What would you tell your younger self?
I think the biggest thing I would say is to trust and have faith that it is going to work out. And I think for so much of my younger life, I was pushing and pushing and pushing and driving and keeping my goals in mind, and probably spending more time worrying about things not happening than was necessary. And I could have been investing that energy, that time into really enjoying the moment and enjoying all the things that were happening around my life at that time that were leading me where I wanted to go anyway. I think it's really important that we just tune in and recognise everything that's happening and appreciate everything. It goes back to gratitude, having gratitude for what goes on around us while striving for what it is we want.
And especially if you're so driven. I know that I'm incredibly driven at times with things, and I think sometimes people see that more, and I'll see it myself, that you're kind of, like we said, when I did one of those photo shoots and fitness stuff a few years ago, and I was so driven to the goal all the time, like day in, day out. And I think I did 9 months. I did 5 months of a kind of a bulk for a girl in terms of my body aesthetics, and then I went into a pure cut for like 4 months through tense. But I just sacrificed so much that year, and I don't regret it, but I do look back and think I could probably get a similar result over a little bit longer. But I just, I was like, no friends, I'm not going to barbecues, I didn't drink. Actually, that's not a bad thing though, but I didn't drink for 5 months. And you kind of look back and I think, wow, do you know, I could have just had that night out. It wouldn't have, I know the coach was banging on at me and what are you doing? But actually, I'm not sure that helped me. And I need to know that actually I, like you say, trust myself in the fact that I can do the journey, get the right people when I need the right people, and make sure they are the right ones. But yeah, just have some fun with it a bit more. And what I learned from that was that I remember those days and it was really tough, and you're on like 900 calories or whatever a day. And you were still training as well, and they're still like, you've done 15,000 steps. And I was like, oh my goodness. And I was like, once someone said, just have a weekend off, one of my coaches. And I was like, okay. And he was like, what, do something spontaneous? And I was like, what? And I was like, he was like, what do you do? And I was like, ooh. I was like, I don't know. And then like over the weekend, he goes, what did you do? And I said, I got the earlier train like up to London. And he was like, what? And I was like, yeah, I got the earlier train. How great is that? And he was like, is that your spontaneous point? And I was like, yeah. And I was like, oh my goodness. I was like, this is my life. I was like, the earlier train is as spontaneous I get. So since that experience, I've really learned actually sometimes I just used to go, F it or sod it. Right, that's it. I'm done today. I'm going to go and do X. I'm going to do Y. And who cares? Like, I know, like you said, I'm leading on the right way. But I'm going to go and enjoy my day today. And yeah, I'm going to drop in on someone, or yeah, I'm going to go for that walk that I didn't want to do, or yeah, just do something different.
Absolutely, and just accepting that sometimes we have to just learn to walk before we learn to run. And I'm definitely guilty of, I set myself a goal or see where I want to be, and then just give myself a ridiculously hard time that I'm not already there. And it's like, actually, no, this is a process. It's going to take time, and it's have fun with that process. Enjoy what's going on. Stop worrying that you can't run yet.
That has to be the biggest thing that new coaches ask me. What's your biggest piece of advice? And it's like, just enjoy the bloody process. And they're like, oh, I'm like, no, just enjoy it. Stop talking to me about the qualification you want, or that, figure you want, or that you want to be this qualified. That, just enjoy it and be the best you can be with that. You don't always need to have that whole, yes, you have to have credibility. I do believe that. But sometimes just go and do it and just get out there and just see what that brings as well. Because no one's perfect. I have no judgment on anybody. No one's better than me. I'm better than no one else. And I think that's this is us creating personalities and characters and what we stand for. And I think for me, when I want to work with and collaborate with somebody, whatever area in life, and even the connections I have with relationships, I want that to be very much that it's succinct and it's the same. How I show up in my business is how I show up as a person. And if you met me, I'm the same. You will go going, actually, she's not as she seems. It's all just smoke and mirrors, because I have little interest in people like that. And I think it's the same.
Absolutely.
So look, I've absolutely loved doing that with you, Steph. I think it's nice because I've actually listened more as well to what I've tried to listen, but it's nice to just see how natural it is, isn't it? And I learn the organic flow that you can have, which is great. Where can people find and connect with you?
On Instagram is the best place, I would say, HF Coaching. Instagram is the one for sure.
I'm not gonna lie, I do get very jealous about the beautiful weather that you have. Every time I'm like, darn it.
Absolutely, yeah, no, very lovely.
So look, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you so much for having me on. I've absolutely loved chatting. It's been brilliant. So thank you so much. Feel great.
You're welcome.
All right, see you soon.
A huge thank you to Hannah, and of course a huge thank you to you for listening today. If you have taken value from this episode, then please share with people. Let me get out there and help more people and add value. I highly recommend you also check out the previous episodes exploring everything from mindset, business, relationships and goal setting, an array of coaching areas. And if you would like to join my coaching program, now is the time to take action. So reach out, let me know your one biggest struggle right now, and let's see what I can do to help you. As always, go take action, make an impact, and have a great day.